came to my porch 10 years ago, said, "You're the comedy guy, I got some jokes for you." And he sat down on my porch and started telling me jokes. And that's how this started. And he's from the neighborhood, and he does cruise ships. He's got some footage of himself on cruise ships on YouTube and stuff. How about a hand for Don Taylor, ladies and gentlemen? Don Taylor. Come on out here, Donnie.
Well, glad to be here again. Thank Frank, Steve Sweeney for opening once again. It's a tough act to follow, but I'll try. I'll sit down too, I'm getting old. I had a birthday a couple of months ago, February, and it's kind of hard for me to believe that in 4 years I'll be 90. And I hope... I'm only kidding, I'm 63. No, at least I hope I'll be 90 in 4 years. Let's see. Well, okay, I got some new size 16s just a couple of weeks ago. I went to New Balance last summer, and I wanted to get my foot remeasured. And I had 15s the last couple of times, and they said, you're a little over 15, you got to go to the next one. So, you know. They came in 2 boxes because they have a 50-pound limit. You know? And I don't know if Frank Joyce, the Undertaker's here, but when the time comes, I want him to donate these to the Clown Museum in Springfield, Massachusetts. They can put them on the wall, they look like snowshoes. Yeah. Oh, this fellow walks into the bar room, and there's a kind of a heavy girl dancing, doing a little dance on a wooden table. And he goes by and says, "Oh, nice legs." She said, "Oh, you think so?" He said, "Yeah, a weak table would have fallen down by now." Well, that was better than I thought it was going to be. There's a few people, I know of some people in here that have a bulldog, and there's also, I guess, a pug and a Boston Terrier. They all have that flat face, you know. And a friend of mine told me this about 30 years ago. He moved to California. And he told me why they have a flat face. He says it's from chasing parked cars. And my mother wasn't a comedian whatsoever, but she told, this is the only joke I ever know she told. Well, maybe it wasn't a joke to her. I don't know what store she was in, maybe in the North End in the meat market, but she was buying cow's tongue. My father used to love all kinds of stuff like a fried eel, or fried smelts, or blood sausage, and tongue. We used to have tongue once or twice a year. And if somebody was, I don't know if it was a guy or a woman next to us, she said, "You eat cow's tongue out of the cow's mouth?" And my mother said, "You eat eggs, don't you?" This psychic, she lives in Melrose. She's only about 4'10", and I think they call psychic. I don't know the difference between a psychic and a medium, but anyway, one of her clients turned her in because she was selling drugs in one of the rooms. So the cops came and found all kinds of stuff. So they arrested her. She wasn't in the jail about 2 hours, and she escaped. So they put a bulletin out to the local residents, and maybe on their patch, like they do on the computers, and said, "Small, medium, at large." Did I say she was only 5'10"? I forget if I said that. President Trump, last summer, he invited the Pope to his yacht for a couple of days, and the Pope accepted, and he came with a priest and a secretary and so forth, and they were out on the deck at a a breeze blew the cap off. I think you call the cap, something like a Giusetto or something, a little cap. It blew it off about 20 feet off into the water. So the priest didn't know what to do, and the secretary didn't know what to do, and the Secret Service didn't know what to do, so Trump said, I'll get it. I hope I don't laugh at my own joke here. So Trump goes over the side and walks to the hat 20 feet and walks back on the water. Gets on board, gives it back to the Pope. And you know how the left is with Trump. The next day, radio, television, newspapers, Trump can't swim. Well, I heard this on the way over on the radio. It's a girl, she's a movie star. She doesn't look that old, but she's been around for about 20 years or more. Her name is Reese. And she stabbed an ex-boyfriend in the neck. And I couldn't believe what I was hearing. And I can't think of her name is Reese. I can't think of her last name. Did you say Witherspoon? No. With a knife. This girl I was going with before I was going with my lovely wife, I think she was Egyptian. Because about the third date, and from then on I was trying to kiss her. Every time I tried to kiss her, she'd go, tut, tut, tut. King Tut, pyramids. Let me try over here. My big feet are getting in my way here. This fella had come over and he tells them, my 90-year-old father just had his physical, and he's good shape, but the doctor said you should try to walk 1 mile every day. And he didn't like that, but I guess, whatever. So about a month later, a neighbor came over and said, how's your father doing? Is he walking a mile a day? He said, yeah, I think he is. And can I talk to him? I'd like to congratulate him. Well, I don't know. He's in southern New Hampshire right now. And he called the other day. He needs some new sneakers. So. This fella came over, the 90-year-old gentleman, and the 90-year-old said to the neighbor, he said, we went out to a restaurant last night. The music was quiet and nice. The food was excellent. The prices were good. And the waitress was fantastic. And the fellow said, that sounds great. But what's the name of this new restaurant? And the old fellow's thinking. He said, well, what's that flower that beaux and husbands give to their sweetheart? It's usually red and it has thorns. And the fellow said, well, that's a rose. So the 90-year-old turns toward the kitchen. Rose, what's the name of that new restaurant? CBS is giving away batteries free of charge. Oh, tough to get old. Can't even read my own writing. A couple of heady young men here coming up. My friend said his wife, this was 20 years ago, he said his wife had a mud pack on for one day, and he said it didn't look too bad until it fell off. My wife loves to shop. She shop. She loves Macy's. She's there like 3 days a week. I deliver mail to her. This fella, he was having a come as you are costume party, so he answers the door. And the fellow, there's about a 30-year-old neighbor there, nothing on but a pair of roller skates. He said, what did you come as? He says, a pull toy. I wasn't going to tell that one, but anyway. So the homeowner looks at him. Forget the pull toy. I think it's a push job. Yeah, push. This nun, young nun, her duty was to visit, old people and see what their needs are and so forth. Excuse me. So the Monday morning, she's about 2 miles to the 3 years old to get to this elderly woman. And the car starts sputtering and it runs out of gas. And she knows the gas station is right down the street. So she walks back and asks the fella, do you have a bucket? I need a gallon of gas. He said, no, the last one was just taken out and it'll be another half an hour before I get one back. And she said, well, I can't wait. Let me go back to the car. So she goes back to the car, looks in the trunk. All she can find is a bedpan. So she goes back and says to the fellow, just fill it half up. I don't want to spill it. So she's walking back, and the car is parked right in front of a house. And in the meantime, two brothers come out and sit on the porch. And when she's approaching the car with the bedpan, he also gave her a funnel. So she's pouring the gas in the car. And the one fella turned to the other fella and said, if that car starts, I'm turning Catholic. No, I think that's it. That's it.
Don Taylor.